Hey YouTube, this is a follow-up to the do-it-yourself leather belt for the belt sander, the 1 inch that is. So the conclusion that I came up with is basically it does hold. Here's the seam where it was glued, and it's held well. It's not going to come apart as long as you use contact cement. The problem that I'm having is more along the lines of the wobble. Although I heard from a couple of other YouTube vids who have the ones that you buy, and they actually wobble as well. So I don't know if that's something that can be taken out completely. The one thing I will say with this, if you're going to make an attempt to make your own, that is what you want to do is get the proper thickness to begin with. That's where I wasted most of my time. It's not a waste of time, but if you don't have the proper thickness, then you have to sand it down, as I mentioned in the first vid, and that just kind of wastes time, because if you already know what you need, then you can go ahead and get the proper thickness, and you don't have to sand this down. As you can see, I had to do it on both ends, and if I had the proper thickness, which I would estimate that to be 2 millimeter, no more than 3 millimeter. So the closer you can get to 2.5, I'd say that's ideal for this particular machine. And that is, you only have so much thickness that you can deal with here, as well as the elbow. And it's really in this elbow part, which is the adjustment part, but the more tension you have, the more likely your belt's going to bind up, because the motors just aren't that strong on these machines. And really it's a strap, so it's really not meant to be with a lot of tension, because all it is doing your final finish, deburring. But anyhow, getting back to the belt, it seemed to work fine. I mean, the attempt, you can see here, is where I did the contact cement. And all this stuff that you see here, this kind of torn up leather, this was because of the thickness issue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a couple of other belts at Goodwill or something, but I'm going to look for the proper thickness to begin with, and then obviously the length. So I'm going to look for a 32-inch, 1-inch width by 2 millimeter, no more than 3 millimeter in thickness, and that would be ideal. And that way, when you get that glued together, you don't have to do any of this sanding. You can just put it on the wheels and get going with it, and I think it'll work out just fine. As far as the wobbling goes, I don't know that that can come out. I do know that trying to get this to be the exact same thickness all the way through is near impossible. So that's why I say you're better off just getting one that's already the proper thickness, because even that's going to have its variations. But you'll spend a lot less time doing the sanding, and if you haven't tried to sand leather, you'll see it really makes a big mess, because it, much more than sawdust, it flies all over the place, these leather fibers. And so if you do make an attempt to do some sanding, you want to minimize that and let your blade really cut into the leather and make it smooth, if that's what the effect you're going for. But it seems to work. Like I say, if you want to make the attempt, I would say it's worth it. It saves you the $25, and from what I can see, these things will last a long time. And so it really depends on the type of leather, and that's really the only reason that I'm going to go and get a couple more belts, to see if I can get a better attempt at it and get a better ultimate belt for leather strapping. If you can see here, that's where I put some flits. Also, I'm going to try some of that Dillon shell casing polish. I think that'll work just fine. Anything will really work to buff up the blade. So anyhow, Um, like I was mentioning, the reason that I'm going to do it again with a couple different belts is because I want to try, see if I can't do it with different leathers, see what that has to do with the effectiveness of it. But overall, I tried, I did my belt, or rather my knife, using this belt. And I mean, it came out good enough for me. It puts a nice little polish on it and deburrs it, and the edge is nice and sharp. I'm just new to sharpening knives on these belt sanders, so this is my first attempt actually. This particular, all these scratches in there were already in there. This is like an everyday carry for me, so I just like to resharpen and get it sharp because I'm tired of carrying around a dull knife. And I've used many of the ceramic sharpening tools that you do this number, you know what I'm talking about, or the Harbor Freight deal where it's sided, four-sided with the crushed diamond kind of thing. That's just a waste of time for me because I'm not a skilled sharpener of blades. And you kind of have to really know what you're doing, be able to hold that angle, and that's just, I don't want to spend all that time. It's unnecessary for me. I just want a sharp knife. And I can get it off of this unit because of this space here where it has play. And so you can angle your blade according to where you think it should be when you do your final stropping, that is. When I do the other belts, I usually hold it here and gently move it side to side, so forth, and it works real well. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with it, and experience, you'll get better. So overall, I think it was a success as far as the belt goes, and saved me 25 bucks anyways. I'll make another attempt at it, and if it comes out any better, or if I have anything to add, I'll do a last vid on it. But give it a shot if you don't want to waste the 25 bucks. Just make sure you get yourself a proper thickness that'll work for you, and it'll be very quick. Like I say, wood weld or weld wood, one of those it's called. It's what I used, barge cement, and then there's another one that's also good. But any contact cement is what you want. And then look at the first vid to see how I cut them. Pretty simple, straightforward. Hope you got something out of it. Till next time.